Well, welcome back. Our next guest, well, I tell you, I am so honored to have him back. I value his coveted time. It's been a long time since we've had David Horowitz on, but today, what an honor to have him back with us. He's a conservative author, political commentator, CEO of the Horowitz Freedom Center. And I want to talk to him about a collection that he's putting together, the book, or the Black Book of the American Left, which is actually a collection of his writings through the years, about the last 25 years. Those watching on theDove TV can see a picture of it right there, right now. And let me encourage you to check it out. That's a picture when he had more hair. Hi, David. How are you, my friend? Good to see you again.
I'm fine. Yes, this is actually more than just a collection. This is going to be 10 volumes when it's finished.
Right.
This first volume is called My Life and Times, and it's really a portrait of the left. A lot of conservatives have been in a state of shock since Obama began to reveal who he is. And that's because conservatives were, busy with other things during the last 20 or 30 years, while the left was steadily making its way into control of the Democratic Party and turning it into a socialist party of the left. And this book is really a record of my battles with this since I came out of this left. As you know, my parents were communists. I spent a lot of years in the new left. And when I left it, I came under attack from them. So I've been engaged for 20 years in a battle with the Obama left, which is now in control of the country. So this is really, it's the fullest portrait you're ever going to get of the political left that's taken a stranglehold on our country.
I commend you, David, for doing it, because your life experience, as you just summarized quickly there, this is going to be a real resource for viewers and listeners to get a hold of it. And let me encourage you to get the first one and then keep your eye open for the series, because you have come through this, you have lived, you've seen it all. I mean, you've seen in the last 25, 30 years the morphing of this to where we are today. And now we're in a situation where it just seems like there is no regard to the Constitution. There's no regard to anything, that this president is just bent, especially now that he's been reelected, to socialize America.
Absolutely. If you look at Obamacare, I mean, why has he lied about everything? It's not going to be more affordable. You can't keep your doctor. You can't keep your plan. It's not going to cover the uninsured. Why all those lies? Because they couldn't say what the real agenda is, which is to control every American citizen. If you control your access to health care, I mean, they can deny you, a lung transplant if they decide that you don't meet their criteria, or cancer treatment or whatever, then they control you. What Obamacare is about, and it's just a shame that Republicans still haven't got the language that they need to fight it, is about the destruction of individual freedom. We're going to tell you that you can have, one of 4 plans that we choose. We're going to tell young people that they need to have maternity leave and all kinds of things that only old folks need, and really expensive insurance that they don't need. So we can finance the whole plan and subsidize the constituencies that we want to support our power. This is the most frontal attack on American freedom in my lifetime. And I'm glad that it's come a cropper and that it's imploding. But I would like to see conservatives and Republicans fight it the way it needs to be fought, which is a threat against individual freedom, which in fact everything the Democrats do these days is. When you increase taxes, when you have a deficit of trillions of dollars and increase it by trillions, what you're doing is forcing all taxpayers to work an extra day a week for the government instead of for themselves. Wow. That takes away their freedom. That's what it's all about. It's about the freedom of Americans versus the power of the state.
Let me, I want to come back to that, but let me just back up just a little bit. Could you share with our viewers and listeners your breaking from the left ranks and why and how that happened?
Yeah, there's a story in this volume of my life and times called Black Murder Incorporated, which tells what happened to me. I was editing the largest magazine of the New Left in the early 70s. And I was introduced to the leader of the Black Panther Party, who was a hero to leftists then. There's a Black Panther in Congress, unrepentant one today. But they were the heroes of the whole left. And I raised a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to buy a Baptist church. It was a white church that had been overtaken by the inner city in Oakland, and turned it into the Panthers already had a school, but they didn't have a facility. But I turned it over to the Panthers to use as a school. And I hired my bookkeeper at Ramparts, this magazine I edited, to do the books for the school, because I foolishly thought the IRS would shut them down if they didn't keep their books. The IRS only goes after conservative organizations, certainly not Black progressive ones. In December 1974, December 17th, this woman that I had recruited, Betty Van Patter, who was 42 years old and the mother of 3 children, disappeared. And by the time the police fished her body out of San Francisco Bay 5 weeks later, I knew the Panthers had killed her. I knew that all my leftist friends were a danger to me, because if I said what I believed, they would denounce me as a racist and working for the CIA or something like that. And I had 4 children at the time, and they would all be in danger. This is what ended my sojourn in the left. And I've written about it in this piece called Black Murder Incorporated. And it also coincided with America's withdrawal. Her body was found in February 1975. In April, thanks to the Democrats in Congress who won a majority after Watergate, aid to the Vietnamese and the Cambodians was cut off, and the communists proceeded to slaughter 2.5 million peasants in Indochina with no protests from the political left. One of the things this book highlights is the way in which we live inside the language universe of the political left. We talk about anti-war movements. There's no anti-war movement in America. There was no anti-war movement against the Iraq War. If it had been an anti-war movement, there would have been demonstrations in front of the Iraq embassy demanding that Saddam Hussein obey the UN resolutions he was violating and open his country to the UN inspectors. There were no demonstrations at the Iraq embassy, because the so-called anti-war movement was an anti-American movement. And until we start, it's only about America's military role in the world. And until we start speaking in that kind of language on the right, and conservatives, they call these people liberals. What's liberal about progressives, except their attitudes towards, sex, hard drugs, spending other people's money, criminals, and America's adversaries? That's what they're liberal about.
Wow.
Everything else, they're intolerant. They're bigots. Look what they're trying to do to Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
They absolutely hate the First Amendment, except when it applies to them.
Let me.
They don't want people to have different opinions. They want to stamp out those opinions wherever they appear. They're total. My magazine, I have a website called frontpagemag.com, frontpagemagazine.com, or frontpagemag.com. And the motto of our paper, it's a daily paper, is inside every liberal is a totalitarian screaming to get out.
Wow.
The book I've written will illuminate that statement.
All right, let me take a quick break here, David. We'll be right back. David Horowitz with us today, and fascinating. You may want to check that out, frontpagemag.com as well, and his new book, The Black Book of the American Left, and which is My Life and Times, and a series that's now started from his years of incredible experience. We'll be right back with David Horowitz in just a moment. Okay, we're back, and our very special guest today is David Horowitz. I'm sure you have picked up one of his books or read some of his articles, seen him around, and what an honor to have him with us today. Conservative author, political commentator, CEO of the Horowitz Freedom Center. And we're talking about the beginning of a series called The Black Book of the American Left. That's the first of the series. A picture of it there on the screen if you want to check it out at Amazon's or Barnes & Noble. And it's a collection of things through the years, and David has shared with us, it's the beginning of the series of his life and times, so I think you'll find it to be an incredible resource. David, I'm hearing a couple things here. I'm hearing the word liberalism, communism, and progressivism. What's the difference?
There really isn't much of a difference. The difference has to do with the political context in which they operate. America is still America. We still have the First Amendment. People still actually have a regard for the First Amendment. There are some liberals who've broken ranks on the dynasty, or some. It's what you can get away with, basically. So, if they call themselves liberal, my parents, who were card-carrying members of the Communist Party, called themselves progressives. They never referred to themselves as communists. The Communist Party created actually the Progressive Party, which a Democrat, Henry Wallace, ran for president in 1948 on the Progressive Party ticket. Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, his chief behind-the-scenes advisor, most important person in the government, and David Axelrod, his political strategist, all grew up in the same communist left that I did, all graduated to the communist new left, or neo-communist, if you like, new left, and have never left it. They're still part of that left. That's the way they think. Barack Obama doesn't identify with America. What president who identified with America would leave 4 brave Americans to die in a firefight without even staying in touch with them, let alone sending them help? There is none. When the Russian astronaut burned up in space many years ago, the Soviet premier, he's the premier of a dictatorship, was on the phone with him to the end. But Barack Obama hung up the phone that Benghazi night, went to bed, and then went off to a fundraiser the next day. And after tasking the woman who is now our national security advisor, Susan Rice, to lie about the incident. This man is a traitor in his heart, Barack Obama, in addition to being a compulsive, brazen liar. Of course, people in the public life can't talk that way about Obama because he's black, and it'll end their careers if they do. But, some of us don't have that to lose. So
it appears that America's waking up. I mean, yeah, we did elect him twice. It's hard to us to understand why we elect somebody twice that wants to bring this country down. But the acceleration of his imperialistic actions now, seems to be waking up America a little bit faster, and Obamacare continues to be a mess. Do you see a potential recovery here, or?
I do. I do with this election. I think there'll be a tsunami against the Democrats because Obamacare is in everybody's life. And, as people, and it's going to be there, they can't make it go away. And so it will turn sensible people into Republicans, at least for an election. I'm concerned about the way we fight the battle. I'm concerned that we're not talking about this is a threat to freedom. The Democrats are a party that's a threat to freedom. Taxation is a threat to individual freedom. Why? Republicans talk like they're accountants. It's always budgets and pie charts and numbers and wonking, policy wonking. This is a moral struggle and a moral crusade. And the Democrats really know how to exploit that. I mean, for them, Republicans are enemies of women, children, minorities, and the poor. It's actually the Democrats who have their boot heels on the inner cities of America. They control them and have for 50 to 100 years, but Republicans never talk that way. Let me say just go back to your question about progressives, liberals, and communists. What unites them is the idea that you can change the world and that you can have what they call social justice. They all use the same phrase. When I was a child, we had on the bookshelf the cry for social justice on our communist bookshelf. This is a world where there's perfect equality and everybody's taken care of from cradle to grave, and there's no conflict, no war, no racism, no sexism. This fantasy is a fantasy of the kingdom of heaven on earth created by human beings. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why they want to control your life. Since people are unequal, I mean, people are just born with unequal talents. Some people are, more beautiful than others. And all of that translates into resources. Some people have more self-discipline and more energy than others. And that's going to result in unequal rewards. So what progressives are about is taking away the freedom of people who've earned through their talents, through their dedication, through their perseverance, more than people who are lazy and shiftless and criminal. Mm-hmm. And what progressives want to do to make everybody equal means to take away the freedom of the productive members of society.
Right.
And it ends in a police state. It's the only way it can end.
All right, you got. If Obamacare was able to stick, I see it falling apart. But if it was able to stick, obviously that is the great social act of the decade. But then the remaining stumbling block for a complete takeover by the left would be the faith community. They got to silence the faith community.
Oh well, they've been at that for years. That's what Duck Dynasty is. The Duck Dynasty controversy. I think that Rush may be right. It may be. Hopefully, it's a turning point. But I'm not holding my breath because there've been plenty of other points that should have been turning points. Mm-hmm. But of course, that's their war on religion. The faith community is a huge obstacle.
Yeah. Well, this is fascinating, David. Thank you for your... Pardon me?
Yeah. I hope people will take a look at this book. I mean, of course, if you have Kindle, you can read a sample. Because it's a large project. We need to roll out 10 volumes to get as complete a picture of the left as we'll ever... it's just circumstances. Nobody else is going to write a book like this. So I hope your readers will give a look at it.
I want to encourage people to get a copy of it. It's the beginning of the series, and this is called The Black Book of the American Left, and we've had a picture there on the screen by David Horowitz. And the other thing you can do is go to frontpagemag.com and follow his works there. Any last thoughts? We got about a minute and a half. I guess the question would...
To go back to your question, the hope lies in the grassroots. So I'm sure many of your listeners and viewers are just, regular people. That's where the strength of the fight against the progressive left lies. As a radical, I watched, and an ex-radical, I watched how the left pushed the Democratic Party over, to the far side. John Kennedy had the same politics as Ronald Reagan. That's how far they pushed this party to get in Obama. Conservatives need a grassroots, and the Tea Party is to me, the most encouraging, most important thing that's happened in America, for America, again, in my lifetime. So I just want to see the Tea Parties empowered. I want to see stand-up conservatives in the Congress like Ted Cruz and Trey Gowdy supported. And that's going to take millions of ordinary Americans getting involved in politics.
David, this isn't a fair question. I only got 30 seconds. Why do you think Speaker John Boehner's been so weak?
He's a weak man to begin with, but look, he's a deal maker. That's the problem. And they're deal makers because they don't think things will change. And the only way they can change is from a tremendous push from the grassroots.
Wow.
That's what changes the game.
And hopefully that'll happen in 2014.
Yes,
Thank you, David. Blessings to you. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Thank you, and to you too.
Okay. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.